Good morning. Good morning. So glad to see your happy, shining faces. Hello, Miss Jamila. Hello, Miss Tish. My name is Helana Black. I am the leader
Good
of the,
morning.
good morning. I'm the leader of the Wednesday AM Mindful Writing Group. Today, I think it's meeting number 8. Meeting number 8. That's exciting. And today we're talking about what meditation is and what it isn't. But first, let me give a little introduction to people who might be new to the circle. I know you guys generally come to the circle every week, but for the folks who are watching the replay on YouTube or elsewhere, let me tell you a little bit about what the circle is about and why we decide to gather every week. So we're a group of writers, thinkers, and creative people who are looking to build a creative wellness habit. And our goal is to live a life that's worth writing about. And the circle exists to help us do 3 things. Number one, we want to enhance our writing practice through the practice of self-awareness. Number two, we want to nurture our creativity through healthy habits. And then number three, to create life experiences that are meaningful to us. And so if you want to be able to get more information about the circle or keep up to date when we meet, you can actually join the email list. That link is in the description below. It's stan.store/Helana Black, HALONA BLACK. That's stan.store/Helana Black. So today we'll go ahead and we'll get started. Like I said before, we're talking about meditation and what it is and what it is and what it is not. And I thought that it was really important to be able to talk about this particular topic because there's just a lot of, I believe, a lot of misconceptions about what meditation is, particularly here in the West, and what it's supposed to look like. And I think after today, we can start to give ourselves permission to start to think of meditation in a way that gives us permission to allow us to use it in a way that is meaningful to us and useful and useful to our lives in a way that doesn't make us feel constricted or that we can't use it or we don't know how to meditate. And we can just go into the practice of using it so that we can actually benefit us. So I had a little meditation story that I wanted to share. A few years ago, I took my first trip to Thailand to be able to get better. This is the first, well, not the first time I was leaving the States, but it was my first trip to Thailand. First time that I had ever been to that side of the world. I had never really been around monks or really knew anything about meditation or even Buddhism in general. I was never raised around it. So being around that type of culture was just really new for me. And so when I got there, this was what, almost 6 years ago now. When I got there, I was really quite sick, and was in need of some sort of healing practice. I just didn't know what I really needed. And so when I got to Thailand, I started finding all of these healing modalities and mechanisms that were available to people, and meditation was one of them. And so in one of the places that I had stayed in while I was in my early days in Thailand, I had gone to it was an apartment building, and there was actually a Buddhist temple that was really only a 10-minute walk up the road from where I was, and they actually took foreign meditators for 10 days, um 10-day meditation, what do you call them? 10-day meditation events. where they would take outsiders and you can stay there for 10 days and you can meditate with monks and you can get to have time. Bless you. And it was meant to be just to be able to share how Buddhist meditation works, at least the way it works with Thai people. And so I got there expecting to be able to just show up and, you know, have it be a normal, I guess, meditation experience, but it was really none of that. One of the things that you have to do when you participate in this thing is that you have to wear all white when you get there. And of course, I was a lot bigger when I was there, and trying to find white clothes in Thailand for, you know, a bigger body was just, it just didn't work. You couldn't find white clothes. So I had to like go to the market and like find white clothes material to be able to wrap around me that didn't really fit properly, but they had to like sew something together for me real quick. When I was there, a lot of the Thai people, it was mostly Thai people that were there. I think there were a few people there from other countries. But when I was there, it was some sort of a holiday as well. So there were like people from China and some other places. And of course, I'm the only Black person that was there. So there was a lot of people just sort of felt like they had the license to come up to me and be able to say things to me and about me, mostly about my color and size, which sort of makes you feel like you don't fit, of course. It would make anyone feel that way. And then once we got into the actual space, it just sort of I spent a lot of time worrying about whether or not I was actually doing the meditation right. It kind of felt like all of the other foreigners that were there were sort of well-versed in Buddhism. Now I understand that they weren't, but when, you know, but at the time, you know, when something is new to you, you sort of feel like you're the only one who doesn't know. And so it just felt like everybody just knew what to expect and what they were doing, and their questions were better. And I was just sort of, you know, the odd one out sitting in this space that just didn't really, you know, I didn't fit. I didn't fit physically. I didn't know what was going on. And so I was just trying to get through the 10 days. The only reason why I was there is because I felt so sick, and I just felt in my mind that there was something here that I'm supposed to learn that's going to be able to benefit me. And of course, I did stick out the 10 days, and my anxiety did start to wear off, but it was just difficult to be there because my anxiety was so high at times. And, you know, they would have us wake up at 4:30 in the morning to be able to start the day. But if my body wouldn't actually start to fall asleep until 4:30 in the morning. And so it was like I was always trying to fight through trying to stay awake. And sometimes I look disinterested, and it's not that I was disinterested. It's just that I literally my body just wasn't working well. So this was just an all around really awkward, didn't fit sort of experience when I look back on it. Even though there were a lot of things that I gained from it, one of which is what I said, that my anxiety did decrease somewhat. As a matter of fact, when I went back to my apartment and tried to go to sleep, I went to sleep a little bit faster than I normally would have. But it was just a troubling experience. And in speaking to other people, I've spoken to a lot of other people who've had similar experiences. It was just really difficult. Nobody really explained anything. You don't know really why you're there. And just being an American and an outsider was just really challenging. those sorts of trainings are really made for people who are interested in being monks. And they're not adapted for people who just want to be able to meditate on their own in their daily lives. And so there's just really a lot of misconceptions about what meditation is and what it isn't. One of which being that there's only one type of meditation, that you have to sit, very straight, with your back straight, very uncomfortable. You're sitting cross-legged usually on the floor. And you have to sit for at least an hour in order for the meditation to work. That's generally what I hear people say. Some people will say that meditation is about sitting down for a long time and you have to empty your mind, which is almost impossible to do. Nobody can really empty their mind. In order for you to be able to meditate, some people will say that if you don't see immediate benefits, then you've done something wrong, or that they may not have done it right. And that's not necessarily true, because during the 10 days that I was working in the temple with the monks, the fact that I was noticing how uncomfortable I was actually the meditation. Like, that was the meditation. And I don't think that people really get that part. They think that if they don't have some grand religious experience when they do a meditation, where they want to see something, feel something, hear something, then something is wrong with them and they're not doing it properly. But the fact that you are noticing that you can't focus, you can't concentrate, that your mind is in 10 different places and you're hearing different voices in your head and none of them are yours. All of that stuff is good. That is the meditation. And I don't think people get told that a lot. So what is meditation if all those other things are not meditation? The general definition of meditation is teaching people how to connect to the present moment, which I think is a real convoluted definition. Like, to lay people, I don't think that really makes sense. Like, what does it mean to connect to the present moment? So my personal definition of meditation is learning how to take time to notice what's going on within you and around you, and doing it with purpose. I think that's an answer that I think some people would be able to relate to. So taking the time to notice what's going on within you and around you, and doing it with a purpose. So I don't know if you all have any meditation stories or anything that you wanted to share that's relevant to what you think meditation is and what it isn't. It's okay if you don't.
I have some experiences
Mhm,
that made me feel as though I could not meditate, that I just wasn't right. I
mhm,
used to study with I used to study years ago with a group called the Asera Society, and they have these meditations that they do to the Kemetic deities based on
mhm,
maybe a particular situation in
mhm,
in your life or in the community or whatever. And it seemed as if the objective was to have these visualizations, or they would tell you, now visualize that you're, it's 300 years ago and you're on the plantation, just for example. People would come up with these stories after the meditation. Oh, I was in the ocean, and swans were all around me, and somebody was pouring honey on my head. I mean, all kinds of stuff. I never saw anything. I never saw anything. And then when I would share that with the instructor, oh, you must not be doing this, or you must not be doing that. You're not eating the right. I mean, all kinds of
You're not eating the
reasons.
right food.
It was always my fault why I was not having these huge, MGM movie scenes like everybody else claims they were having. And that was one experience. Um, After, I did that for like 5, 6 years, and I eventually, moved away from that, from that group and everything. I also had an interesting Vipassana
Mhm.
meditation experience at one of the Vipassana centers in America.
Yeah.
And it was the funniest thing. Drove all the way to Massachusetts. At the time, I lived in New Jersey. Like you, I'm from New Jersey.
Mhm.
And I drove all the way to Massachusetts in December, not connecting that it will probably snow in Massachusetts, but I was feeling myself back then. And I drove up there, this 10-day silent meditation retreat. And I'm telling y'all, if it had not, two of those 10, I think you really there like 12 days, but the meditation itself is 10. If it had not snowed for 24 hours twice within that period, I would have hightailed it out of there. But I stuck it out. But you had to sit still. You're not supposed to move. Your feet had to be in a certain position. No talking. I'm not saying that it wasn't beneficial, but it was hard.
Mhm.
It was hard. And me with myself, I guess it was kind of like childbirth to me. You know how they say after you have one, while you in the labor process, you say you ain't gonna never do it again, and then you end up. So that's what happened to me. I did it. I've done it twice for 10 days. Um, I do kind of like it.
Mhm.
I kind of like that technique because it's like no nonsense. It's like straight to the point. You ain't got to chant. Not that there's anything wrong with chanting, but you don't have to chant. You don't have to visualize. You just use the sensations on your body,
Mhm.
and nobody's guided. You're not being guided to, or forced to see anything or try to connect with any entity or spirit or nothing like that. That's one thing I do like about it, but it is challenging. The maintenance of that experience is that they tell you to meditate for an hour, AM and PM. That's the recommended maintenance. But
Mhm.
lately, I found some meditations online using that technique that are as short as 15 minutes.
Mhm.
So I've been utilizing them some, like half hour in the morning, half hour in the evening, and it's just more doable and more realistic experience. So
Mhm.
that's basically, in a nutshell, what I wanted to share.
So over time, you've developed a system that works for you.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
Long story short, because boy, when you're in those situations and everybody's claiming to have all these grandiose experiences, and you're kind of gullible, and it could lower your self-esteem. Like, well, I don't be saying none of that stuff. Ain't nobody, I ain't heard no whispers. So yeah.
That's interesting. My intro to meditation was through, actually I was leaving, I remember I was leaving this I don't know if it was a spiritual community, I don't know. But I was leaving a community and I found online this thing called Sahaja Yoga. And it was, are you familiar with that? I had
Yes.
never
No.
Yep.
heard of it. That is okay. So I had almost kind of an opposite experience, right? I found this group and they would meditate and we would go into this space and they would play this music and we would sit in a circle. And I remember the first time I went, like I felt this like energy like literally moving up and through my body. Now, their whole thing, it was basically like, I guess, Kundalini meditation. I didn't know a
Mm.
lot about that, but I had been to massage school, so I was familiar with the chakras and energy moving and all of this. But I would sit there and I would feel the energy like inside my body moving. And afterwards, I would tell them, and they were convinced that I hadn't been doing it long enough to be feeling anything that I was
Mm.
imagining. I'm like, I know I feel something moving in my body. But, you know, I didn't stay with them long, thank goodness. But it was kind of the flip side. It's like, I know I feel like it, you know, getting present. Um, for me, they had this thing where you would sit um with like your feet in salt water as a way to
Mm.
ground yourself. And so
Mhm.
I
Wow.
remember beginning to like sit on the earth and I could like feel the vibration of the earth. It was like the very most interesting thing. But yeah, I ended up leaving. I was on my way moving or transitioning into another place anyway. So thank goodness I didn't stay with that group. Because I just think about, you know what I mean? Like I know what I
Mhm.
feel, and y'all trying to convince
Yes.
me that I ain't been doing this long enough to feel anything.
Mhm.
And I too was the only Black person. And so I'm like, yeah, let me go on about my business. But from there,
Yes.
I end up, you know, I always connected meditation to manifestation, right? So I think from there, I was in the internet marketing space. So Think and Grow Rich was really big. So, you know, in there, I think there was something about meditation, or somehow I connected those two, whether it was in there or not. Yes, because you about, you know, creating what you want. And I used to sit and I would count my breaths, right? But with the intention of creating this my new, you know, the new life that I wanted. So
Mhm.
it
Mhm.
worked.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
yeah, like you, I discovered over time that okay, it's really about calming and centering myself so that I can feel balanced, feel grounded, like live a grounded life, as opposed to like doing it to get something. So
Mm. Yeah.
Absolutely. There's so many different, I guess, entryways into meditation, and a lot of them are not kind, I think,
Mm.
kind at all
Mhm.
especially for people who are new to it. It's either they don't accept um how distracted that a lot of people show up as, or like yourself, they'll try to tell you that what you experience is not what you say it is, which is just strange.
Mhm.
How do you sit and dismiss somebody else's
because it's
experience?
human, that means their definition isn't big enough to encompass your experience.
Mhm.
Now I know that.
Yeah.
But in the moment, it
Mhm.
was like, well, I guess I knew it then too, because I was like, y'all kind of full of shit. But all right. Now I know it's
Yeah.
like, oh, the piece of God that you think you have is actually not expansive enough.
Mhm.
Your piece is not big enough.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. And so for today's, I guess our practice for a meditation, I wanted to walk you through what meditation can look like over a 5-minute meditation, and then we'll actually do it. And then, you know, if you want to, we can sort of sit and discuss what we experience. Because I know both of you are experienced meditators, but for the purpose of people who might be new, I think it's important for me, if this is going to be a class about being new to meditation, to be able to explain what actually happens in the meditation and what is expected of you, or what to expect during a meditation. So um, today would just be the sort of like a 5-minute awareness meditation. And what I like to be able to do is just to be able to start with immediate surroundings. And I'll go through the 5 senses of what we hear, see, smell, taste, and feel. And we do that for about 2 minutes. We start off with what is going on in our immediate surroundings. Um, I'll ask you to be able to sort of settle down and relax yourself, relax the body. Um, I will explain how to be able to sit comfortably. So in a lot of meditation spaces, they teach you that you got to sort of, you know, sit up straight, and you know, you sort of get that sort of strain in your neck. which is for most of us is not sustainable. At least for the amount of time that we're doing it, and especially if you're going to be able to do it for an hour, which you don't have to do. Meditation doesn't necessarily need that you have to sit for an hour plus in order to be able to experience the benefits of meditation. And so what you really want to do is just sort of kind of, you relax, you sort of lean back, almost as if you're kind of, I guess, watching television. You just want to be able to feel comfortable. Personally, even when I'm sitting in a chair or on the floor, I like to be able to sit cross-legged. But you can also sit with your feet flat on the floor as well. You want to be able to sit so that you are, you don't want to be able to fall asleep, but you also want to be able to be comfortable enough so that you're not in pain or uncomfortable. You can also lie down during a meditation. If you want to be able to lie down on your back, if that's comfortable for you and you feel like you're not going to fall asleep, you can do that as well. I'm going to ask for 2 minutes to be able to sit and watch your mind. And what that looks like is, in this instance, I'm going to ask you to sort of like find a dot in your mind, and you're going to watch the dot. Watch the dot. And the reason why we want to be able to watch the dot is because we want to train ourselves to stay in the present moment. And anytime there is an intrusive thought or some other thought that sort of pops up, rather than yell at ourselves for so-called not being able to do the meditation, or I can't do it, you just sort of sweep it aside. Sweep the thought aside, and that's it. You notice that it's there, you sort of smile at it, you notice that it's there, and you get to continue along with your meditation. And then we'll close up with an affirmation, because I think it's important to be able to close a meditation affirming who we are and feeling positive about ourselves and our meditation experience. Does anyone have any questions? Good morning, Miss Carolyn, I see you. Thank you for coming in to join us today. We're talking about what meditation is and what it isn't. And so we've just kind of gone through, some of the misconceptions of what meditation is and what it should look like. And so now we're at the point where we are going to sort of practice, put some of that information to practice.
Thank you.
And so what I'm going to do is stop the video. And the reason why I stopped the video is because I want us to be able to focus on the actual meditation itself and not necessarily, watching me or what other people are doing during their meditation. And so I put 5 minutes, I look at 5 minutes on the clock. And you're just going to start to relax yourself into your seat. You can be lying down on your back in a way that's comfortable so that you're not going to fall asleep. Or you can be sitting up in your chair in an alert position, feeling relaxed. But you don't want to be able to, you want to be somewhere in the middle of being too tight and overly relaxed, like you're going to, watch a bunch of television. You want to make sure that your neck doesn't feel strained. If you want, you can put your legs in a cross-legged position. And you can also put your feet, the bottom of your feet on the floor if that is more comfortable for you. And what we're going to do right now is we're going to start to draw our attention to what is in our immediate surroundings. And then we're going to slowly bring that attention into what's going on within us. So we'll start with what we can hear. Just start to sit and purposely take note in your mind of what it is that you can hear within your close surroundings. Maybe it's the drone of the refrigerator. Maybe there's some dogs that are barking in the immediate area. Maybe there's some water from the faucet that you can hear. Just take note of what it is that you hear. What do you see in your immediate surroundings? We're not making any judgment on what it is that we see. We're not looking at a pile of laundry and talking to ourselves about how the fact that we need to get up and clean it. We're just making note of the fact that that is what we see. What are the colors that you see in front of you? What do you smell? It's early in the morning, perhaps you smell coffee or tea. What does the air around you smell like? What do you taste in your mouth? Maybe it's the taste of the toothpaste from brushing your teeth this morning. Maybe you've had something to eat already. What do you taste in your mouth? And lastly, what do you feel? What do you feel on your skin? Maybe there's something that's touching your skin that's feeling scratchy. Does your skin feel soft to the touch? Do you feel the prickliness of the hairs on your arm? Just take notice of what it is that you feel. And so now that we've taken note of our surroundings through our 5 senses, now we can start to take some of that attention and sort of, excuse me, take that inside of ourselves to be able to turn our attention inwards. So as you continue to sit, I want you to come up with a dot somewhere in your mind's eye. And I want you to look at the dot and I want you to follow it. Where does the dot want to move? Does it want to sit in one spot? Just watch the dot. That's all you have to do. And when you're watching the dot, It's helping us to train our minds to be able to focus on the present moment. So just keep watching the dot and wherever it wants to go. And if there's any other outside thoughts about what you need to get done today, who you need to check up on, what's going to happen at work today. What I like to do is I literally, or not literally, but in my mind, I will take a broom, a little hand broom, and I brush it to the side without judging the thought. We see the thought, we recognize the thought, we know that the thought is there, but we're turning our focus back to the dot. We don't judge ourselves for the fact that those other thoughts popped up for ourselves. We just acknowledge its existence. So we want to be kind to ourselves when our mind wanders. There's no punishment for not following the rules. There are no rules when you're doing meditation. Your experience solely belongs to you and no one else. Continue to watch the dot. And as the watch the dot, we close with an affirmation and we can say, my self-awareness is growing. Just say to yourself, my self-awareness is growing. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and cut your video back on. That was about 10 minutes long instead of 5 minutes. But with the added explanation, I think it took 10 minutes. So if anyone had anything they wanted to say about how that particular experience was for you, I would love to hear it. And if you don't, we could just go ahead and go into journaling questions. And for those of you, if you want, you can always go back and review it. You can review the meditation as you need to. So I have 3 journaling questions for today. And question number 1, what negative thought patterns do I wish to transform? What negative thought patterns do I wish to transform? for 5 minutes. What negative thought patterns do I wish to transform? We got about another minute. Okay. So that was question number one. What negative thought patterns do I wish to transform? We'll go and right into question number two. How do my negative thoughts affect my behavior and emotions? How do my negative thoughts affect my behavior and emotions? 1 minute left. All right. And so we'll just go into question number 3. In what ways do negative thoughts limit me? In what ways do negative thoughts limit me? All right. We have a couple of minutes, so if anyone wanted to share what you wrote, you can either read it or just sort of summarize what you thought about or something that was poignant to you, I would be interested in hearing it.
Yeah, I would like to read what I wrote. Hi, everybody. I
Good
would like,
morning.
good morning. I would like to read what I wrote for the third one.
Sure.
Negative thoughts, if I allow, would crash all of my dreams. I denounce them. They're not part of my can-do vocabulary. By keeping my eyes on my legacy, I am able to maintain and allow the unfolding of my highest good and my creative birthright.
That is beautiful. Thank you.
It
Is
just,
Mhm.
just to caveat that without reading what I wrote, when I maintained a negative thought pattern without understanding what negative thought patterns were,
Mhm.
it was very detrimental to my life.
Mhm.
And I didn't understand where it was coming from. Once I understood that it comes from within, then I was able to make the corrections.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of times, because I think a lot of us have some sort of a negative thought pattern. I think hopefully we get better at removing them as we get older. But it's difficult to be in the beginning to be able to sort of pinpoint where those thoughts are coming from. And so meditation is one of the ways that you can, one of the tools that you can use. It's not the only tool, but it's one tool that you can use to help you to notice where those, what those negative thought patterns are, and perhaps where they come from. Because they're sort of, we've programmed them, we programmed ourselves in our subconscious mind, somewhere in the back of our minds, to be able to think a certain way. In the same way that we've sort of programmed our life to sort of operate on those negative thought patterns, we can also reprogram ourselves to believe new thoughts, new, more beneficial thoughts about who we are, and who we want to be able to be in the world. And that's really important. That's really the reason why I like to be able to teach people to use meditation. You don't need any real tools. You really don't even need any, any support or guidance outside of yourself once you learn to be comfortable with using meditation and knowing what it is. Just need yourself. That's all. And a willingness to be able to pay attention.
And a willingness to love yourself enough to pay attention to yourself. Because if you grow up in an environment that discounts your thoughts, you are taught to discount yourself. But meditation does teach you how to be kinder to yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Well, it's the top of the hour. That means it's time for us to go. I thank you so much for coming in to join me early in the morning on a Wednesday, as always. I will be here next week. Yeah, I'll be here again Wednesday next week. We'll have a new topic. If anyone has any questions, you can feel free to leave a message for me in the YouTube comments. Also, feel free to like, subscribe, and share the channel with those who might be interested. If you want to be able to get on the email list and learn about some of the other things that I do related to meditation, health, and healing, you can join my email list at stan.store/Halana Black, and you'll find the link in the YouTube description. So thank you so much. I will see you next week.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.